Love My Dad is a film that stars James Morosini. The film is about a son being catfished by his dad. He also wrote and directed the film. This is an amazing movie, and we can't wait for everyone to see it. Thanks for so much for your time today, James.
Oh, thanks, Rudy. It's great to be here.
So first of all, let's go say the movie is not set in Chicago, but we have Lil Rel, Amy Landecker, Claudia Sulewski. We have Rachel Dratch. I mean, you have so much Chicago talent in this movie.
I know, it's true. And we've had some great screenings in Chicago as well. I mean, the Chicago International Critics Film Festival was so fun. I mean, that was a theater of like 700 people or something. It was a blast.
And people got to see it there. People got to see it at South by Southwest. But let's talk a little bit about the plot because, as we see right at the beginning of the film, based on true events.
Indeed, yeah. The movie's based on something that happened to me a while ago. My dad and I got in a big fight. I decided to cut him out of my life, blocked him on social media. I was done. And I was going through a tough time. He was worried about me, but I wouldn't talk with him about any of it. And I got home one day and this really pretty girl had sent me a friend request online. I was very excited. She had all these amazing pictures and liked all the same things I did. And then it turned out to be my dad. And my dad was catfishing me, and this story was born.
What did he say when you told him you were making this into a movie?
The first time my dad saw the movie was at South by Southwest in an audience of like 600 people. But when I first told him that I was making the movie, I think he was like, okay. I don't think he realized that I was really going to make this movie.
But a lot of sons and fathers have complicated relationships, and it could be, a variety of reasons from the way that, men were raised, for generations to not, maybe connecting with your son if your son's not into sports or the same things that you are in, and it's hard for sons and dads to connect. What feedback have you gotten either on social media or after the screenings as far as kids either wanting to connect with their dad or just, this whole message, especially because we don't really get to see this on screen that much?
I had this young guy come up to me after screening at South by, and he said, I haven't talked to my dad in 5 years, but I think I'm going to call him this afternoon. And that, I don't know. I mean, that just made the whole thing just feel really worth it, that this one would potentially have that effect.
Let's talk a little bit about Patton. Did you write this with him in mind as far as like a father figure in the movie? And he said he got some classified information from your dad, and maybe was that from some of the exchanges that happened in the past that created this character?
I shared all of my home videos with Patton, and so he was able to see a lot of just our dynamic growing up. And Patton was on my mind since the very beginning. He's somebody that is just, I think he's a comedic genius, really. And so I knew he was going to be able to kind of bring his levity into telling the story and navigate kind of the highs and lows of the story.
Claudia Sulewski, she's from Park Ridge, a Chicagoland suburb. She's dating Phineas. She's a famous YouTuber.
Claudia Sulewski she's a delight to work with. She's just a great person. And she's also an incredible actor. I mean, everything she does on screen is so believable, and she brings so much intelligence and heart to the work that she does. And I feel so lucky that we got to work together on this.
What did she say when she read the script and to play, essentially two, she's one person, but she ends up playing almost like two roles?
Something she and I talked a lot about was that she's playing two roles, and sometimes even three. I mean, she's playing the real person that Chuck bases the profile off of. She's playing Franklin's projection of this perfect person. And then in some ways, she's also kind of playing Chuck too. Like, she has this kind of weird awareness that she's also kind of hiding something from Franklin, that she's actually his dad. And so navigating when to play each of those notes, I think, was something that we had a lot of fun doing.
And speaking of fun, Rachel Dratch, I've loved her since SNL, POTUS on Broadway. She's done, a bunch of different, cameos in other movies, and she always cracks me up. What was it like to cast so many? Let's talk about Rachel, first in general, especially, she had a couple of sexy scenes in this film, and were there a lot of bloopers and a lot of takes that you guys had to go through in the movie?
I mean, man, Rachel is just, she's a great person to work with, but she has such a specific sense of humor. And she was able to she was able to kind of lock into this character where she was bringing a surprising amount of heart to Erica, where everything that she's doing comes out of this desire to just connect and be liked by Chuck. And, she also was able to play this kind of dryness, this kind of removed dryness in this way that I was so impressed by. And yeah, I mean, her scenes still make me really laugh.
But let's talk a little bit about just the women in general in this movie. We mentioned at the beginning, but maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it, because Amy Landecker plays your mom. Claudia plays, the object of your affection, and then Rachel Dratch plays the girlfriend to your, father in the film, Patton Oswalt. But all women with Chicago connections. Did they connect over Chicago while you were filming, or what do you think is special about like maybe their Midwest roots here that made them so perfect for this film?
I mean, they're all such hardworking people. I mean, Claudia went so far as to work at the diner we were filming at. She worked a few shifts and like really understood the lay of the land and how that diner works. And I mean, Amy Landecker, she became really good friends with my actual mom, and they're still quite close. I mean, each of these people just are hardworking. They're professionals. Like this is what they do, and it feels like potentially a Chicago quality. I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
And then maybe your next film can be set in Chicago. You got to already get the actors here.
Yeah, exactly.
So this film is about a father catfishing his son, but it could easily be about an ex-spouse, a former best friend. This can easily cross the line of someone who cuts you out of their life. Maybe going through it yourself, writing this movie, seeing audience reactions, is there a better way that someone can go about being in someone's life? Or if someone has ended it, is it just kind of time to make peace with it and say goodbye?
No, you gotta catfish him. That's the only path forward. No, I mean, I don't know. I think that's kind of the question that, I mean, I think there are better ways than catfishing someone to try to connect. So yes, I do think there are better ways, but at the same time, I think all of us are working with limited tools in terms of navigating our relationships. None of us really know what we're doing. We're figuring it out as we go. And so I think all of us have connected with other people, maybe in not the best way, or, we're all figuring it out. And so I really wanted to show somebody doing the wrong thing, but for the right reasons. I mean, he loves his son and so wants to make sure he's okay.
And, as far as tips, for maybe, kind of bounce off that last question, as far as, fathers and sons, maybe who aren't at that point of not speaking to each other, or maybe going years without speaking to each other, like the fan who saw you at South by Southwest, but maybe something that fathers can maybe do to connect better with their sons, and maybe sons to maybe not stray away from their dads, especially letting time go by. Because obviously 1 week turns into 1 year, turns into 5 years, turns into, much longer, that sometimes people are estranged.
Yeah, I really appreciate when people are willing to just like spend time with me in a meaningful way. And I think that's kind of the foundation of any relationship, and there's no substitute for it. So that, and then also seeing one another's perspective and making this movie, one of the most appealing parts of making this movie was really trying to understand my father's perspective in our relationship, and seeing things from his point of view. And it gave me a sense of like, he and I are not as different as I initially thought we were.
Let's talk a little bit about the intimate scenes, some of the, the sexier scenes that we get to see. Obviously we talked a little bit about the Becca aspect of it, but with her playing your dad, we saw it in the trailer, so not too many spoilers, but there are some points where there's some physical parts with Patton Oswalt. Talk a little bit about filming that, and him jumping into that role with you as well too.
Yeah, I wanted to take audiences really high, where Franklin is getting to kiss the girl of his dreams, where in any other movie that would just be a great moment for the two main characters, but then also plummet the audience into this horrible realization that, wait, no, this is his dad that he's kissing. This is not a good thing, but then take audiences right back to Franklin's understanding of what's happening and make it euphoric again. And I that was something that we were trying to do throughout the movie, was just that Franklin's highs are Chuck's lows, because Franklin wants to be intimate with Becca, but Chuck really doesn't want to be intimate with his son.
Oh, exactly. This idea came from, the catfishing part from Chuck's best friend, who is, Lil Rel, and obviously a Chicago comedian as well here too. But let's talk a little bit about maybe that friend who's always encouraged you to do something or share something that kind of sparks the light into someone else, like, oh, I should try that, or I should do that, because that's kind of who he plays in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck definitely takes that advice in the wrong way, but it's what gives him the idea. And it was important for me that the film had these comic talents like Rachel or Lil Rel to call Patton's character out on what he's doing and say, dude, you can't do this. This is not okay. And then to give Chuck the opportunity to say back to them, like, my son tried to kill himself. I have to do this. I have to make sure he's okay, which is tough to argue with. And so it allows us to really understand Chuck's perspective as he's trying to navigate this tricky situation.
A lot of times we can heal past, from things from our past through comedy, and to kind of make light of it, and to be able to, heal through laughter. Was that kind of the part, as far as having all these actors with such a big comedic background, part of it, so that everybody could kind of heal together?
I think so. I think I'm of the mind that you can kind of make fun of anything if you do it in the right way. And making this movie a comedy allowed me to not take my own personal experiences so seriously, or to I think sometimes the only thing you can do in life is just laugh about what's happening to you, and it gives you some distance, and it allows you to kind of hold it more loosely.
Let's talk. There's a karaoke scene. I don't want to give away the songs that are going to be played, but are the songs there, do they have a special connection to you and to your dad?
They're definitely meaningful. My dad and I used to go to Montauk, Long Island, almost every summer. And on our way there, he would often be playing a lot of that kind of 80s music. And so I wanted the film to have certain songs that I grew up listening to and singing along to with my dad.
As far as Claudia, she's dating Phineas. Did he have any musical advice as far as songs to put in, or the score or anything? Was he on set with you guys?
He visited Syracuse for a weekend, and he and I definitely talked about the music, and he's a great guy that I was happy to have around. And it's funny, Claudia, my dad's name is Claudio. And so it was this weird happenstance that they both had these really similar names that made it feel like kismet.
So you probably start saying the name and they both turn around at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, James, thank you so much for your time today. We cannot wait for this movie to come out. I Love My Dad. Go ahead and check it out in theaters this Friday, and then it's going to be streaming the following week. And thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Rudy. It was great to meet you, man.
You too. Thank you.